Hey everyone, it's Nerdy Sully, and welcome to my review of The Mandalorian Season 2. The Mandalorian continues the adventures of Mando and the Child, now on the run from the end of the previous season. However, the on the run aspect doesn't apply until the last few episodes. If that makes this sound like the main characters are safe throughout the majority of the season, that's because they are. Because no one can harm the merchandise. Child, sorry. And just to let you know, this season was better than the first season, but not by a long shot. We'll also be reviewing per episode, so spoiler alert. The season did start out strong in the first episode, mostly. The new general character had a predictable character arc by not even needing the armor after it was accomplished in the episode. He was only using it as a symbol to protect the villagers from a threat. Though the native/villager team up to face the threat in the end of the episode was interesting to watch. Besides the predictable character arcs, the rest of the episode was a good start to the season. In episode 2, we're introduced to a new character called the Passenger, who only serves to remind Mando what Mando stands and where he came from, Mandalore. Other than that, she was there for some humor, as some may call it, with the merchandise, child, sorry. When Mando's back is turned, the passenger sneaks off somewhere else for some personal time. However, that elsewhere is in a nest of some hostile fauna. Mando finds the passenger and they begin to escape. Spoiler, this fauna does overwhelm Mando, the merged child, the passenger, and the Razor Crest. When all hope is lost. Are you guys fans of Deus Ex Machinas? Do you know what a Deus Machina is? It's when an unlikely source appears and solves the character's problems for them. And now that you know what that means, this isn't the last we see of them throughout the season. Because of course, we can't harm the merchandise. The child. The X-Wings that were chasing them previously cleared the way of the fauna, but not the Razor Crest & Co. Despite previous aggressive actions, the fighters stopped and addressed Mando with some Season 1 exposition. This episode introduced a forgettable passenger who only serves as a gag surrounding Merch Child and reminding Mando of where and what he stands for. The remainder of the episode was enjoyable, but a bit of a downgrade to the previous. Episode 3 took place on Mon Calamari. If you think Mon Calamari, you think Akbar. If you think Akbar, you think it's a trap. And there was a trap in this episode to momentarily put the child in danger. While it did have the passenger reuniting with her husband, their two characters again serve as a gag surrounding the merchandise. Sorry, child again. The main focus is Mando meeting and helping Bo-Katan and company infiltrate a ship and helping locate the whereabouts of the Darksaber. And that was it. Mon Calamari was just there as a fancy locale with some fishy, pun intended, not so friendly locals, and for some fans, and the passenger and her husband were there as a gag for the child. It did show how the new empire was sort of like a cult, but you can only expand so much on All Hail the New Empire, when it's only used a few more times throughout the series as a deterrent in surrendering to the new rebellion/resistance. Wasn't too pleased with this episode, especially with the missed opportunity to shed or sow some live-action lore on Mon Calamari. Episode 4 was a bit of improvement over the last episode, but was only there to show and tell with some familiar faces from last season about what was going on medical base. Nothing intriguing or shocking was revealed, such as Gideon still being alive, which we already knew, and just some vagueness on what was going on in experiments. The episode was still alright, but since it repeats info, shows familiar faces, and vague experiments, best read the Wikipedia on this one. From one Clone Wars character to another, Episode 5 is a debate of live-action Ahsoka Tano. Now, this wasn't a bad episode, but I'm not here to say something like #not my Ahsoka or something to that regards. I have watched the previous non-Disneyfied version of Ahsoka in the Clone Wars series multiple times. I know this series takes place far after Clone Wars, however, if there is one thing I know Ahsoka for, it's for her spunk, which I don't see at all from Dawson. Also, since after this time she was sort of a mentor to Ezra Bridger, I didn't see a mentor-like figure in her either. For all I know, she could pass as Shaak Ti. I did not see Ahsoka in Dawson at all. It is too much to judge off of one episode, but from the previous episode with the voice actor playing live-action Bo-Katan, the writing is all over the wall, as some may say comparison-wise. Overall, not a bad episode, just don't see Ashoka and Dawson due to the stated above. Episode 6 continues the arc of Episode 5 in the series, of where Ashoka asks Mando to take the child, now named Grogu. While Grogu is on the stone, we're reintroduced to Boba Fett, who has a revived Season 1 character assisting him. While Grogu is on the stone Mando set him on, Gideon's forces close in to retrieve the baby Yoda, as some might say. This sets up Boba and his stick to go ham on some troopers, which didn't blow me away. While all these character reintroductions and Boba armoring up was more fan-pleasing, the rest of the episode didn't engage or entertain me as much as it should, especially with the reintroductions of fan favorites. Episode 7 was pretty much the same with 6 since it reintroduced us to Mayfield from the first season, but he was only there to help Mando retrieve the child. Throughout the season, this is the only time the "All Hail the New Emperor" line has actually had some weight to it, with the cameo of Mayfield's previous commanding officer having a more intimidating presence than Gideon himself. Also pretty obvious that Mando will do anything to save the child. I thought this episode was alright, nothing special, surprising, or engaging, even with Mayfield's release obvious. Episode 8 should be a nice twist and tension to the end of the season, with Bo-Katan and co. having issues working with Boba Fett, and the showdown with Moff Gideon. But that's just it, Moff Gideon. More like Moff exposition. Everything he says and his demeanor. Just assume I know everything. Yeah, we got that from Season 1. Even the explanation of why Katan can't take the Darksaber from Mando is explained by Moff exposition. Exposition is not a villain, nor is it threatening, nor is it intimidating. Heck, the only time he is intimidating is when he does a predictable backstab at Mando when his back is turned. If we're going to pair equals, how about Moff exposition to Grand Moff Tarkin? Tarkin didn't need a fancy suit and enhanced droid dark troopers to be intimidating. He has his loyalty to Vader and the Emperor. Characters, not props. Though he does use the Death Star laser to obliterate Alderaan, that is after the fact. Exposition isn't a villain in my book, neither are props. Speaking of dark/death troopers, do you remember Deus Machinas? This is sim number 2 in my book. Because at this point where it could have been interesting or shocking to see the mains lose, they don't. But of course, we can't harm the merchandise. I mean the child. There is many a spoiler of what the Deus Machina is in the final episode, which is more fan service. While there is a tender moment between the child and Mando, Mando didn't really have a dynamic with any of the other characters throughout Season 2. In conclusion, The Mandalorian Season 2 is an improvement over Season 1, but not by a long shot. While it is unrealistic to expect perfection, since there are better shows, Disney and non-Disneyfied, that I believe are better, and are made by the same creators as the show, I certainly was expecting better. So, as I've said with episode 4 of this season, best read the Wikipedia on all of this to save you about 8 hours of better spent time. I'm passing on The Mandalorian Season 2 with a score of a 66 out of 100. And that is the end of my video. Next on my video to-do list that I'll drop next or on an upcoming Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here is a review of the final season of the animated Star Wars: The Clone Wars series. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to check out my recommended video or playlist in my most recent video here. If you want to support my channel, links to my Patreon, Ko-fi, and or Streamlabs are in the description below. And if it comes down to it, you can always subscribe.